Tony Dunn. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. It's Wednesday night. It's time for the BeatCheck, where we put our ear to the ground, trying to find out what's going around town. I guess we check the beat. Cody Lashney. This week we got a great guest in, Josh Klein from the Riot Report, and we've got some cool stuff to talk about. Before we get to our guest, though, we are so close to 100,000 YouTube views this month. I mean, we are 900 views away right now, I think is what it says. It kind of fluctuates because YouTube kind of projects everything, so it'll change. But we're right there, brother. We're right there. And we've been in the depths. We've been in the shallows. We've been in the shallows. Actually, yeah, we've been. Where we getting it? But we got some cool stuff to talk about. Nice seeing you again.
Yeah, man. Listen, we're here with Josh. He's a longtime friend of the podcast. So, happy to pick his brain once again. And Tony, you already know that we're going to do this with the best damn Panther fans and all of YouTube, man. D. Ill Skills, my man Panther Pickle, Sean Hume, the real AP, Tim Estes, Tim Tizzy, Tony Dunn. Let's check the beat on the C3 BeatCheck, brother.
Josh Klein, the Riot Report, welcome back. And I hope, actually, I would say I hope this, but I don't think you are getting any sleep. I feel like every time I see you on Twitter, you're like, this sleep is for the birds.
I mean, I feel like if you're going to go on Twitter, you got to complain about something. So that's kind of my that's where it's at. You can't just, nobody goes on Twitter and is like, you know what, I had a really good cheese sandwich today. Everybody's like,
feeling refreshed.
My flight was 14 minutes late, and the biscottis were shitty, and I hate everybody.
Yeah. I have it post.
Your daughter is what? Just over one now? Or are we in
she's 17 months old. She's actually sleeping pretty good, but yeah. So she's sleeping pretty good, but she just, every now and then she's up at like 4:45 in the morning.
Yeah. I saw that tweet the other day. The other day you said something to the effect of like, hey, I never knew I'd be up this early, or complain about. I was like, I feel like, man, there's people doing cocaine out there right now who are just like still awake.
Yeah, they were still awake.
And you're like,
I had already taken a nap by the time it was 8 a.m. and I had already taken a nap and was awake from a nap, and it was 8 a.m.
Yeah,
and I was like,
you're working on
I got
nap.
a lot of day left.
Nap too, yeah. I've been there, man. I got 3 kids, but thankfully mine are old, or well, not thankfully. I miss those. We love children. You'll love it, and before you know it, you'll probably be having another one.
She's the best. I'm very happy. I'm certainly not complaining, but it would be nice to sleep until like 9 a.m.
Oh yeah. I imagine that is when sleeping in is 9 a.m. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Like that's welcome, folks. Is people listening to this? Welcome to adulthood. Sorry to bring you down, YouTube audience. Yeah. Your life is going to suck. You can't wait. All this talk about wanting to get a job and wanting to do this. Screw that. It's for the birds. All right, but you know what's also for the birds is the damn Panthers, man. Good Lord, they tease us. They rarely please us, but this week we were coming off a victory, an unexpected victory. Panthers, I think, were like, I don't know, like 8-point. I mean, they were dogs against the Buccaneers, home dogs, and just put the working on them, man. And then now a bunch of stories are coming out, Josh. So on the BeatCheck, what we like to do is go through the latest headlines, and one of the ones that caught my eye that the Riot report I felt like was very early on the scene reporting and talking about was the offer to trade for Brian Burns. Today, it was announced that Robert Quinn was traded from the Chicago Bears to the Philadelphia Eagles. We've been speculating about who this mystery team was that was offering these 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns that somehow the Carolina Panthers turned down. Cody and I are split on this. I don't know how the Panthers said no to 2 first-round picks. It must have been futures and back in. I don't know. Tell us a little bit about the Brian Burns story, what you know about the offer or anything you got about that news.
Sure. So I think it had become. I mean, honestly, when you're a team like the Panthers, I mean, this happened a month ago. I mean, once they went 1-3, once the season went off the rails, which is weird to think about that it was 2 or 3 weeks in, you knew that
week 2.
Yeah, you knew that teams were going to call. My favorite kind of reports are like teams are calling about this guy, and it's like, well, that doesn't mean anything. Like, I can call the Tesla dealership, but they're not giving me a Tesla. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't have the money for it. So I get it, and I understand why the reports are. One of the things I always like to think about, especially with these like national reporters, like Rap Sheet and Schefter and all those guys, is when they say like a source said this to me, it's like I try to think back. I mean, we all have sources that we're hearing from, but like what is that source? Like, even if you don't know exactly, but like who does it behoove to have these things come out in the media? Does it help the Panthers to have it come out that they're listening to offers for Christian McCaffrey and that they wouldn't trade him for anything less than a first round pick? Maybe. Does it help the Eagles to that teams are calling about Christian McCaffrey, or like that? Does it help the Bills that Derek Brown is somebody that teams around the league are interested in? Like it's all these things it's such a huge chess game, and so many things are leaked and happening on purpose that I always try to dive a little bit deeper. And ultimately with this Brian Burns thing, the main report that came out about the Brian Burns is like a lock to be traded was an Eagles reporter who said that. So does that Eagles reporter have sources inside the Panthers locker room? Does that Eagles reporter have sources inside the Panthers front office? Probably not. But you know who they probably have sources is with the Eagles. So that to me makes sense. And when I kind of texted around just to see, hey, what's going on? Like this, you know, when people start throwing out like it's a lock, and I have like people friends of mine texting me and saying, hey, Brian Burns is getting traded. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like not like just like my college buddies are like, I heard Burns is gone. And so I texted people that I know that are in the know, and they said ridiculous. Like, I don't even remember what the exact quote was, but they said something like completely inaccurate or something like that. And then ultimately we come to find out that, yeah, I mean, people are offering a lot of stuff around the league. Now, just to go back to like what I just said, like, does it help? Who does it help to have leaked that the Panthers turned down 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns?
That's what I was going to ask, is did the Panthers leak that part? That's who I would think is like who does, I mean, it probably helps you if you're trying to negotiate with Brian Burns, and when I say negotiate, try to keep him here. You know, I mean, I don't know. It's like,
I mean, it helps to make him the highest paid defensive end in the league when he comes up for a contract extension. That's what it definitely helps with.
Wow. Okay.
Because if I'm Brian Burns' agent, I'm saying, hey, bro, you wouldn't trade my guy for 2 first-round picks? Cool. Well, now you need to pay him $22 million a year.
Before I turn the mic over to Cody, do you think they made a mistake?
I mean, I think it all depends, right? We don't know what the 2 first-round picks are. We know that Brian Burns is a top 10 player at a premium position. So maybe a top 5 player. I don't know. I haven't really done the math in my head, but like whatever. He's a very, very good edge rusher,
defensive end,
which is one of the top 5 premium positions that you need. that you need to be successful. And he's 24 years old. So ultimately, do you take 2 first-round picks where you might be able to hit on another Brian Burns? Maybe. We know what the hit rate is in the first round hit rate is like less than 50%. It's like 48% that you have a bona fide, that you have a starter level, not even a stud. 48% that you have a starter in the first round. So it like, are you going to hit on one of those 2 guys? Is it going to be Brian Burns? He's going to be cheaper, but I don't know. This is a team that for the last 3 years they thought that they were on the verge of contending, and that was how they operated. But a guy like Brian Burns could be hitting his peak in 3 years when theoretically your 2023 rookie quarterback is ready to make that jump to the next level. When Icky is still on his, when you have a left tackle and a quarterback still on a rookie deal, it's not the worst thing in the world to be paying a bunch of money to an edge rusher. But we don't know. It's hard to say exactly without knowing what those first round picks were, if they were actually first round picks, and what that looks like, you know?
Yeah. So Josh, today, Jeremy Fowler released a really damning report, basically about the last 2 years inside the Carolina Panthers organization and their continuous failed attempts to lock up the quarterback position. And now there's talks of, strife between different parts of the coaching staff and Matt Rule and Phil Snow. And then even David Tepper comes into this, being angry at picking up the 5th-year contract on Darnold, which he was supposedly persuaded to do. As someone who closely follows this team, did you ever get any inklings of dissent inside the building? Like, did you ever hear any information that, man, there's really a lot of strife in the organization as far as who should actually be the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers?
Yeah. Short answer, yes. Long answer is it's complicated, right? I mean, I think that yes, I think there was a lot of dissent. I think there were a lot of conflicting opinions. But ultimately, I think that somebody lost their job because they made the wrong decisions at quarterback. That's, I mean, right. It happened within the past 3 weeks. Like, I mean, Matt Rule got fired because of the Sam Darnold trade, because of the Teddy Bridgewater signing, because of the Baker Mayfield trade, because of the decisions that were made. And I know a lot of people are like sad about Matt Stafford. I'm not sure Matt Stafford would have been the answer in Carolina. Certainly if they'd have gone up and traded up and drafted Justin Herbert, I think that Matt Rule is probably still the head coach today. And I think we're looking at a completely different Panthers team. But ultimately, that's not what happened. And I think there was some collaboration involved between Marty Hurney and Matt Rule. Not even think. I know there was. But ultimately, it's like when people go out the door, they tend to get blamed because they're not here anymore to hear about it, if that makes sense. So like Marty Hurney gets fired. A lot of stuff that happened while he was here kind of goes on Marty Hurney's plate. Matt Rule gets fired. A lot of stuff that happened while Matt Rule was here gets put on Matt Rule's plate. It's the way it goes. It's the way it works in any profession. You're a bartender and you get fired. Somebody's gonna be like, yeah, man, that dude was pouring heavy. That's why we're short on Jack Daniels, not because of me. I've been pouring him light all night. So like that's just kind of the way it goes. But yes, I think there was a lot of strife, maybe not the right word, but there was some dissent inside the building. There were people that were, that had differing opinions. Obviously, it's a football team, but Matt Rule was a big believer in making sure that that everyone was rowing the boat in one direction. That was how he operated in high school. High school. That was how he operated when he was running Baylor, when he was running Temple. Right. And when he brought it to the pros, because that was what he knew worked. That was, I mean, in his mind, that was the way it worked. And ultimately, it didn't work at the professional level. But in reality, the NFL is such a quarterback-driven league. We know this, that if Justin Herbert is a Carolina Panther, I think we're looking at a whole different situation. They're certainly not in the position they are right now. But ultimately, that's not what happened. Like, it just, revisionist history and hypotheticals are great, and I think Matt Rule will be the first to tell you that he wishes that he had gone up and drafted Justin Herbert, or that he certainly wishes that Justin Herbert had fallen to them at 7, or at 8. I don't remember. It runs all together now, but whatever it was, I think it was 7, right? That's where they drafted Derek Brown.
Yeah, Tua went 5. Chargers went 6 with Justin Herbert, and then we went 7, I believe, with Derek Brown.
Yeah,
I feel like you're being very forgiving of Matt.
So I mean, ultimately, I'm a big believer.
I think we got some lag.
A little lag. I feel like you're being very forgiving of Matt Rule here.
I apologize.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But like, what I mean is
I don't know, man. I'm not
just
really an empty
a quarterback
kind of guy.
Is it just a quarterback when it comes to Matt Rule, though?
No, definitely not. I think that the stuff that happens, in the locker room during the Matt Rule era, there were signs taped that said 1-0 above every trash can, all over the locker room. 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. He gets fired. They're not in the locker room anymore. They weren't there when he was there. I mean, his thing, his brand, the way of the Panther, all of that bullshit was him, and he really did think it would work. And ultimately, it just didn't work at the professional level. I think he operated this program. I think when you look at the guys that he brought in, especially players, certainly coaches, he operated in the way that he thought that it would be successful because it had been successful in the past. But ultimately, it wasn't. He thought that he could coach up guys, and the stuff that works when you are the stuff that works when you're at college, when you have lesser talented players, but you have them for 3 or 4 years, you coach them up, and you win. That's just not the way the NFL works. And, when guys that you're talking to, when you're telling to buy in and to say 1-0 and to be one of you and have the Pepsi brand and all that other stuff, when they're making just as much money as you and they're not 19-year-old sophomores, it doesn't really resonate. And I think ultimately that's what we ended up seeing. And they just didn't win. Like, if they had won in year 2, then that stuff really matters.
Well,
that's the Belichick can do all the Belichick stuff, but because he has the past, he has won, so he can do we're on to Miami, we're doing all this stuff. But I mean, Matt Rule kind of prided himself and did a lot of stuff that he thought was Belichick-esque, but he didn't have the history or the
success
to back
he didn't
up.
have the success. The one thing that I have to ask about all of this is the story that came out today. Some of the things that Tepper has said in his press conference, they asked him about what he kind of would do differently in the future and things, is that he said he wouldn't give, I guess, maybe all the power to the coach. There would be more balance. My question about this is as we look at kind of some of this fallout that's coming out, is Fitterer a real dude? Is he a guy that can be a GM, or is he a wet noodle? And like just a yes man, like, because right now the way it's being painted is he's a guy that could navigate between a coach who was maybe a little too full of himself and an owner who is very prideful.
Well, I don't think he's a wet noodle.
Okay.
I'll say that right now. I think that I really like the way that Fitterer handles the draft. Some of the things that he says I really agree with, in terms of, like, he has said multiple times that the more darts you have to throw, the better. And one thing that I have, like, as I dove into covering the NFL and learning more about the draft process and just the way that rosters are constructed, it's that the draft is like 40% luck. Like, yeah, you could be really good at drafting, but ultimately, like, the right guy's got to fall to you. You got to have the right position open. You got to have the balls to make the right pick, trades, all that stuff. And the hit rate on being successful in the draft is just not good. So, like, the idea of, like, trading back, picking up more tickets, I love that idea. But in reality, like Scott Fitterer, signed the transaction log to trade for Sam Darnold. He signed the transaction log to exercise the 5th-year option to trade for Baker Mayfield. And I know Rule was really pounding the table for Mayfield, needed a new quarterback and whatever. And you look at some of the other quarterbacks that went in this draft that are not Matt Corral. You say maybe that's somebody that could be better than Corral, but ultimately we just don't know. We haven't seen anything from Matt Corral. Not to his fault, but I mean, just injury is what it is. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see what Scott Fitterer does when he has 100% control of the roster. I am hesitant to say that Scott Fitterer has 100% leeway in terms of picking the next coach. I mean, I think nobody thinks that.
It doesn't seem like he has any control. Like I won't say any control. That's the wrong way. But I think it'll be a collaborative process. I don't feel like Tepper has learned. Maybe not learned. Listen, I think he's ready to just get back in the driver's seat again. Here's the thing about Dave Tepper. He has run the organization for he's owned it for 5 years now. He has pretty much followed the new owner playbook to a T. Every chapter, every verse, he has done it. He has gone out and done the fan service of something that doesn't really mean anything, but the fans have been clamoring for it for years. He has put the logo on the field.
Basically hollowed out the business side and filled it with all of his people. Yep, exactly. Hollowed out the business side, filled it with his people. Changed the way the business is run. He has fired the incumbent head coach and the incumbent quarterback at the first signs of trouble. Now, Cam Newton, there were a lot of signs of trouble. Whatever, we'll deal with that, I'm sure. But Ron Rivera fired on a Tuesday in Week 12. Went out in that first coaching hire process and hired the big name college coach that couldn't be brought to the pros, that nobody else wanted. Gave him a huge money, gave him a huge contract, gave him the contract that nobody else would give. Gave him a ton of power, and ultimately didn't work out. This has happened with every single new owner. You know what's funny is I did research on this. Every single guy that has bought an NFL team in the past 25 years has fired their head coach within 2 seasons. And once they fired that guy, they brought in another guy, and that new guy has never worked in any scenario. Never worked. Sometimes it's Nick Saban. Sometimes it's
whoever Jerry Jones
hired, but it was somebody in Jacksonville.
Who did Jerry Jones replace? What's his name? The dude from Miami. Everybody loves him. He's on Fox, or he used to be on Fox.
Yeah, not Jimmy Johnson, right?
He fired Jimmy Johnson. Right? I mean, he fired Jimmy Johnson, I think.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's interesting.
Now we have to hope that he doesn't swing back the other way, which is what has always happened, right? They've always either gone with if they hire a retread head coach. Exactly. You have to hope that Tepper doesn't do what the new owner playbook says, which is go the other way and hire a disciplinarian, former head coach. You have to hope that maybe even if he hasn't learned from his mistakes, you have to hope that he goes out and he hires somebody like DeMeco Ryans or Shane. Oh my God, I'm blanking on his last name.
What, the guy from Eagles, dude? Yeah.
Steichen?
I don't know. I like
Steichen. That might not be right.
Stitching.
That's who the Panthers need, is a up and coming head coach. Or I wish they would give Steve Wilks a chance. I can't see a scenario where that happens, but I wish that it would happen, because I think that Steve Wilks deserves to have the opportunity to be a head coach. I think that he is a tremendous leader and has been set up to fail every time that he's been given the job, both times. So I think he should certainly be in the running, but I ultimately don't think that's going to happen. I mean, ultimately, if you're a Panthers fan and you're hoping for success, you want DeMeco Ryans and a new quarterback drafted in the top 3 and go, right? I mean, that's the best scenario.
Maybe. So that actually is a good segue. Tony mentioned that him and I kind of see things differently. And I know you don't have much time left, but I want to kind of, for our last question, kind of transition to this week against Atlanta. I believe that P.J. Walker represents the perfect spark that the Carolina Panthers need right now. He has a propensity to push the ball downfield. He has an aggressive play style. And it's not a coincidence that we see DJ Moore finally, reveal what he's capable of now that he has PJ Walker at quarterback. The run game is now, looking more ferocious now that it's Christian McCaffrey less. Josh, this division's wide open, man. It is absolutely wide open. It reminds me a little bit of 2014. You're talking about Panther fans probably being, wanting to hire a new head coach, draft a new quarterback. But what are the chances that this team this year still has some damage to do, and we might not be as out of it as once thought, even though that sounds crazy sitting at 2-5?
Oh man, I feel like I'm gonna break some hearts here, but I think the Bucs lost to Mitch Trubisky and the Steelers 2 weeks ago. And yes, the Panthers did put an absolute pounding on them, and it was good to see. Good to see that they could do it. Good to see that their defense could could produce for 4 quarters, and that their offense would keep them alive. But ultimately, I think that this is a team that's closer to a top 10 pick than it is the playoffs. That being said, who the hell knows? I mean, the NFL's so crazy. They, they could certainly go 7-9-1 or 8-9 and squeak it out. But ultimately, I'm not sure that I think that hurts them for the future more than it helps them, because ultimately, if you're 8-9, so what happens then? So then do you bring back PJ Walker? Does PJ Walker earn the starting? So you go into next year with PJ Walker and Matt Corral as starting as
that's what Cody wants. Oh my God, it makes me. It's malpractice.
I don't know.
This would be malpractice for a brand new coach for that to be the situation.
Josh, I just think that if PJ finishes strong, you drafted Matt Corral, who had a ton of potential. I think physically he's very comparable to a guy like Bryce Young. Bryce Young is playing with a lot better players around him. If you're in love with a CJ Stroud or a Will Levis, I understand that maybe Corral doesn't quite have that physical ceiling. But I don't know, man. I think that if PJ has a strong showing and you have a rookie quarterback under contract, it's not as crazy to me. Considering there aren't a lot of really good free agent quarterbacks that are even going to be available this offseason.
Don't you feel like I don't know, man. I'm a big believer in sample size, and I feel like we're really focusing in on the 60 minutes that we just saw rather than the rest of what we've seen of PJ Walker. Not that PJ.
No, he's a Band-Aid, bro. He's a Band-Aid.
And he's a good leader, but ultimately, like, I just don't. I feel like if you're selling me on PJ Walker as the starting quarterback, that looks like
for how long?
That's looking for a top 5 pick, not a team that's looking for a playoff.
Right. Well, I would say this is that PJ Walker is a great dude that can go and win us a game next week, or not go, or commit. He can make plays. He's an athlete. I liken him to a kid that I went to middle school with, Travis Bailey. He's the nicest kid in the world. He's just like always good on your basketball team. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's never the best. He's not the most talented mug. He just passes the ball well. He got a good pump fake, a head fake. He got a little everything and do a little everything well. Just go out there. He's a gym rat kind of kid. I think PJ Walker can get it done on a Sunday, but he can't get it done over 2 years on a Sunday. You know, man, like, you just can't build that way. So I just think it would be malpractice to go into next year with a head coach and say, hey, you got PJ and Matt Corral. Good luck in your first year coming off an injury. That would be that's just malpractice, bro. So look, we know you got to go. We have so many. Well, first, we want to try to get you back on and get some insight in not too long from now. I'm trying to think if the last thing. I don't have anything. I mean, I have so many more questions.
For sure. Wait. I know I said I got to go, but I do want to rebut to that. I think that I get it. The idea that the Panthers just blew out the Bucs and Tom Brady 21-3. It feels like everything is happening, but we are 5 days removed from the Panthers 100% tanking and people thinking that they were going to go 1-16. Like it was
fun.
Literally on Saturday. And now we've gotten to Wednesday, and everybody's like, you know what? They're going to go into Atlanta, and if they win, and I get it. Like, you look at the NFC South, and the NFC South is a terrible division right now. But ultimately, I think that the Panthers are not going to abandon their plan now that Matt Rule has gone. And I don't think that their plan. I think the fact that they have not gone out and signed
Bradley Chubb
or didn't go out and sign another quarterback or anybody, or like, I don't think that obviously they're not going to trade for Bradley Chubb or bring in one of these guys or like Jerry Jeudy or whatever. But ultimately, this is a team that has been selling the past week. Yeah. And I would be surprised if they are not continuing to sell. I think there will be another guy traded, maybe an offensive lineman, not a starter, may get traded over the next 5 days. Because this team is trying to prepare for the future rather than try to win this year. And they're never going to say that, and they shouldn't say that because the guys in that locker room deserve to go out there and try and win. And we've said it before, you'll hear it every week. Tanking doesn't really exist in the NFL, but somebody used the phrase administrative tanking.
Yeah,
and that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Me, I'm that guy, Josh. I don't care where you heard it.
It's Cody. Cody's been saying this.
I've been saying this to Tony Doan for years now. Tanking doesn't take place at the football field between players or coaches.
It's about contracts.
At the organizational level. You're trading players away. You're offloading money on expensive players.
Acquiring assets.
Yeah, you're trying to build for the future. And, I'm taking credit for that, dude. I don't care.
He does. I want
to get one more take off, too. The Panthers should be, they're not going to, but the Panthers should trade Derek Brown before the trade deadline.
Derek Brown? No. You should trade Brian Burns.
Listen. He's playing his absolute best right now, right? He could draw you a first round pick right now. He is going to be due for a ton of money, not this year, not next year, but the year after. That'll be year 3 of a rookie quarterback when you should be in your window to win the Super Bowl, to go to the playoffs. You do not need to be spending $15, $20 million on a defensive tackle in that season. If you can get a first round pick right now for Derek Brown, you should do it. They're not going to.
Do the Panthers pick top 5 next year?
Yes.
Okay.
Whether or not they finish with the 5 worst records in the NFL, they will be picking in the top 5.
Okay. All right. That's Josh Klein, the Riot Report.
Did I lose you?
Yeah.
On that one?
Yeah. No, I don't think you lost me. I think I'm coming back around as you're saying if they don't finish in the worst of the 5, they still will. I'm assuming you mean a trade up into the top 5 at that point if they're not in the top 5. We have a thing. Look, is we got to let you go. We could pick your brain all night. We had a cool take last night on the show, which I think David Tepper hopes that somehow Steve Wilkes actually wins the job. I think it would take a ton of pressure off of him because he's going to have to go out and get the guy now. And like you said, the track record for the new owner playbook is not good on this in the swing. It would almost be best if Wilkes won the job and it took some of the pressure off of that. We also have questions about the Rooney Rule. If you can hire internally and just promote Steve Wilkes because he meets the qualifications of the Rooney Rule and being on that list, number one. There's some sort of list. Anyway, we got a lot to ask you in the future. Josh, tell us what's going on. The Roaring Riot. You guys are battling through a tough season for fans. And it hasn't been the first season, but this has got to be one of the toughest seasons to organize fan support. But we're with you. I just saw my friend Susan Deans, and she's a member of the Roaring Riot, and she was talking about her tickets. I was like, gotta put them on the Riot Exchange, this and that. So tell the people how they can not only find your work, but how they can support fans and the fan community in Carolina.
Yeah, man, we appreciate that. Listen, a lot of people are like, I don't want to spend another dollar with David Tepper and the Panthers. We are not related to David Tepper and the Panthers. We're our own separate entity. But ultimately, the Roaring Riot is the fan union of the Carolina Panthers. So if you're a Carolina Panthers fan and if you are watching the Carolina Cat Chronicles, I certainly believe that you are. You go to roaringriot.com. You get a cool T-shirt, sticker patch, all that cool stuff with your membership kit this year. We throw a huge tailgate a block from Bank of America Stadium. The one on Thursday night is going to be incredible. We've got these light-up glasses that are super fun. Everything's dedicated to Sam Mills this year. We go to away games. If you ever heard Keep Pounding chants on TV at an away game, that's the Roaring Riot. That's us. So we just want to bring Panthers fans together and raise money for charity. That's the reality. Those are the two things that we want to do. And I just saw, do the Riot do Philly games? Yeah, we have a Philadelphia chapter. We have 40 chapters all over the world. So go to roaringriot.com, click the chapter map. You can see if there is a group watching Panthers fans or watching Panthers games at a bar near you. You do not have to watch alone. You can go and watch with other Panthers fans and get drunk with them and yell at how much
so you don't have to kill yourself by yourself.
Exactly. It started because Zach was watching games by himself in Philly. I used to watch games by myself in Denver. I know what it's like, so you don't have to do that. The other thing is, if you like hearing about the Panthers news and you like a little bit of snark and a little bit of sarcasm and maybe some insider stuff and maybe some silly memes, go to therioreport.com. We're not publishing as many articles every now as we used to, but if you sign up we have a daily newsletter that goes out that I curate, Jason Huber curates, that Zach Luttrell curates, that has every single piece of Panthers news that you need every morning. It hits your inbox, and we think it's pretty cool. It's basically the Charlotte Agenda or Axios or whatever for Panthers fans. So encourage you to sign up for that. And then follow me on Twitter for @JoshKleinRules if you're looking to see people complain about getting up early.
Fantastic. Thank you again for coming on. We're going to get you back. And all right, that's it. We'll just keep pounding, brother.
For sure, man. I'll come back, and I will not have a heart out to go watch House of Dragons with my wife, and I will be able to get drunk on this show and reveal all kinds of secrets.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Perfect.
Dude,
perfect.
The fact that you said it's for the House of the Dragons, you're all good in my book, dude.
Rings of power, baby. Better than, greater than.
Oh, who gives a shit?
Gotta do it.
All right, man. Take it easy.
I love you, man.
Cody, I need you to take the mic for about a minute and 30 seconds as I diffuse one fire real quick, and then we finish up because there's a couple of things I want to talk about with this article. So talk to the peoples, particularly Just Don't Care.
Chat, you hear that? You got some alone time with your boy, baby. What up? First off, shout out to Just Don't Care for the $5. Since I got behind on my donations, fellas. Keep pounding City 3. Just Don't Care. You're the man, bro. You know I appreciate it. But listen, man, Josh had a very interesting take about trading Derek Brown. And look, I just have to respectfully disagree with him. I really do believe that going forward, the reason why any head coach is going to want to be here for the Carolina Panthers is because of the defensive players they have. Guys like Brian Burns, guys like Derek Brown, guys like Jeremy Chin and J.C. Horn. This is the crux of your defense. That is going to be one of the reasons why you're a contender going forward. So, and he has 3 years left. I don't know. Just Derek Brown seems like a bridge too far to me. And I don't know, man. I really, I think at one point in time we thought that we were going to be doing the fire sale thing. But knowing how many losses the Panthers have had to suffer through these past few seasons, like if you're not doing everything in your power to try and win football games, then you're not doing it correctly, man. There's so many quarterbacks to be had in this draft. I mean, look, even if you're picking, somewhere between 7 and 13, that might still be striking distance for the Panthers to trade up and draft a guy that they like. Be that someone like a Will Levis, who has a ton of physical upside, or a Hendon Hooker. I saw Pickle was in the chat. He's a Tennessee Volunteer fan. Hendon Hooker is very mobile, has an incredible deep ball. You might be able to find yourself in a position to be able to move up and grab some of those dudes anyway. So why wouldn't you be trying to win football games right now? I just think that you absolutely should, man. And by the way, listen, if you follow me on Twitter, you know I am loud and proud in my belief of Matt Corral being a highly underrated talent. And listen, I know a lot of you don't have a reason to believe in him right now. You saw a very small
2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Sample size in the preseason of what Matt Corral was able to do. But I'm telling you, man, this guy has upside that a lot of people are overlooking. And, it might not be the most likely of things, but I really just think that Matt Corral has a ton of talent that he hasn't had the ability to show yet. And inside this new and improved Panthers offense that has a run game that is able to pass protect, I just think a quarterback like Matt Corral is built to thrive. Whether or not it happens is beside the point. Right now, the only focus in the organization of the Carolina Panthers should be to beat the hell out of the Atlanta Falcons. And literally nothing else matters, man.
Cody, I want to go, since we're on the beat check, let's check some of the beat and just pop around real quick while we got some time. Let's jump over to Cat Crave. Let me see. Let's see if we can.
Shit. Look at your boys.
Yeah, look at that. Oh, man, I've seen that before. I've heard that before. Nice. All right.
Yeah, Josh, I did want Malik Willis because I have a firm belief that you bet on physical upside. Matt Corral also has a ton of physical upside. By the way, this year, that's probably why I'm going to be higher on a guy like Will Levis than most people. Because regardless of what he's done at Kentucky, you have to project these players into the NFL, into an NFL playbook, and how fast they're going to be able to pick up said NFL playbook, man. So,
I don't know if I would say fast. how fast, but I would say is that one of the things that you have to do in the draft is think about what someone can be, not who they are. Only.
Yeah.
Right? Is some people have peaked. You don't want them to have peaked. There are so many of these quarterbacks that we have, I think quarterback is a easy way to look at it, is they are their best in college. And like Patrick Mahomes is better now than he was in college.
Absolutely.
Just that simple.
So was Josh Allen. So was Justin Herbert.
Right. And so were a lot of people at their own jobs. Think of it like that, is that I sucked. And first, I still probably suck. My wife probably mad at me right now, unnecessarily mad for, I will tell y'all next week's Ice Up.
That's watch for you.
But the point is that as we, like, I mean, wouldn't it be weird for you? I think it's odd for us, and maybe this is the win now. I don't know what culture it is. I don't know why we think this, but like, you are what you are right now, and that's not really the case. It's kind of like saying Brian Burns. Like when someone said in the chat today, Brian Burns was 24, and he's got 4 years of, I think it was Ted Tizzy said, 4 years of, like that's a Madden wet dream. He's 24 and he's a 4-year vet. Like that's insanity. But you can't, I know we want them to produce from day one, but you got to think of what they can be, not what they are at that moment when you're in the draft.
Yeah, but especially the quarterback position, Tony, because all these guys, even Will Levis, who's in a pro-style offense, they're not necessarily doing things that they're going to be asked to do at the NFL level. And just, we fall into this trap of, just because a player wasn't asked to do something a lot, therefore it means that he can't. And that's a flaw that you can kind of get wrapped up in. And that's why when our coaching staff and when our have sit downs with these players, that's why their evaluation of them off the football field is so important, because you have to look at their work ethic. You have to look at their football IQ. You have to look at some of these intangible things and see if those are the things that's going to equate to the NFL. So, it's going to be one interesting offseason like it has been the past few years for the Carolina Panthers. Hey, why don't we click on that? Could the Panthers actually win the NFC South in 2022?
I want to shout out this Cat Crave been putting in work. They've been
awesome.
Dean Jones saved this website. This website was dying and they saved it, and it's really good right now. Jared Feinberg, though, he's all over the Panthers for a long time now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see what it says. Is of course they can. But all right, so do the Carolina Panthers have a chance at winning the NFC South ahead of their Week 7 matchup against the Buccaneers? The Panthers looked like they were doomed, right? But Carolina's victory, first in the post-Matt Rule era and just the second since November 20. All right, so what are they saying? Come on, let's get to it. Could they win? I think they can win. I mean, I think it's just, all right, have a long way to go.
My thing is not even necessarily what the Panthers have failed to do thus far. It's looking at the competition. The Saints do not look that much better than us, man, and we already beat them. Tampa Bay, we didn't let them score a touchdown. Atlanta, I know they always play us tough, but I'm sorry, I'm just not scared of them. This so much reminds me of that 2014 NFC South, where these teams kind of don't want to get out of their own ways. Like, even if we lose in the coming weeks, it still doesn't mean that we're out of this.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like this is you got to win this week. You got to win against this division opponent. If you lose this week, is Atlanta might be primed to win the division.
Oh, I don't want to hear that shit.
Nah, for real. Like, they've been playing a lot better. What's their record?
I don't care. They're choke artists.
No,
stop. That's what they do.
Okay. All right.
How many times have you ever bet on the Falcons and it went your way? They always spur
I've never
you,
bet on the Falcons. Actually,
Do
you know
whatever
what? Is every time the Falcons have caused more problems in my life.
Right. So why would you want to
Than
give them
any
any kind of
team.
benefit of the doubt?
I'm not giving them benefit of the doubt. They're ahead of us in the division, asshole.
Oh, but by like a game. Dude, I
By
don't give
a
a
game,
damn,
they
man.
are first in the
They
division.
didn't have Matt Rule weighing them down and Baker Mayfield. So
Oh
they
my
had an
gosh, you're
advantage.
just being silly now.
No,
The
I'm being
point that I'm trying to
100% serious,
say
man.
is this is that if they win, all right, so we're sitting here going this. If we win and Bucks lose, we're in first. If they win, they're in first. It don't matter even if the Bucks lose or not.
They're not gonna win.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not saying all right.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, dude.
A lot of people. All right, so someone brought this up. I have ESPN. I'm supposed to have ESPN Plus because of my Hulu subscription. Like I get to watch ESPN Plus, but I don't get to read these articles though.
I didn't know that you could read articles with ESPN Plus.
Yeah, you have to. Like, is that this Scott Fowler article is a paid article?
Oh, that's why I was able to read it. Because I when I had Disney Plus, I got the bundle.
Well, can you pull it up?
Yeah.
Can you Can you bring us the Fowler argument, because this is what people.
Well, it's
this
a
is
very
really,
long article, by the way.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. But the hot story right now is the Matt Rule exodus. How about that? And I want to know if anybody could tell me this. Is Scott Fowler, Jeremy Fowler, Scott Fowler's son?
or their brothers.
Or whatever. The guy that is for the Observer, I think that they have to be related. I think it's his son. So, inside the Carolina Panthers, 3 seasons of quarterback failure. What is the main point of this article? I only saw a couple of clips. So, let's go through it and see what. Tell me a little synopsis of what's going on.
Again, there's a lot of it, but in summation, basically, at every step of the way, there was a better option that Panthers wanted, but then failed to get. So, for example, the first one was they got rid of Cam Newton, and they wanted to sign Matthew Stafford, and we all know this. And apparently, at the Senior Bowl that year, a deal was very close to being made. The Detroit Lions had already sent over to Carolina all the info pertaining to Matt Stafford's back injury, but they had done real work, so much to the fact that on the way back from the Senior Bowl, before they got on the plane, they thought Matthew Stafford was theirs, and then by the time they got there, Los Angeles had swooped in and gotten Matthew Stafford, and the GM apologized and said, "Yeah, sorry, it just happened real fast." Almost as soon as that happened, they turned their attentions between a bunch of other quarterbacks that were on the market. Carson Wentz being one of them. There were other people, but ultimately, ultimately, Teddy Bridgewater ended up being that player. It was also revealed
they're so thirsty.
Yeah, but look, this is the part that breaks my heart, because you know how much of a fan I was of Justin Herbert, but there were many people in the scouting department, and even a guy like Fitterer himself, that wanted to move up.
Fitterer wasn't here.
Hurney, pardon me. Hurney wanted to move up.
The GOAT of first round picks. I know,
man. Shout out to Hurney.
The GOAT of first round picks. My man said that he said there's only a 40% hit rate on first round picks. Well, he ain't ever talked about Marty Hurney before.
They wanted to move up for Justin Herbert. And if you remember, the New York Giants, they were picking, I think, like 3rd or 4th in that draft that year. And the Carolina Panthers, they were even willing to move up with the Giants in order to make that deal happen, to jump in front of the Dolphins and the Chargers. However, here comes Matt Rule, it was his opinion that there were too many holes on the team, and get that requisite amount of draft picks in order to get Justin Herbert would prevent them from filling out the rest of the roster adequately. By the way, that's the same draft where the Panthers went all defense. Like literally every pick in the draft was all defense. Then it's that next year where Matt Rule was head over heels about Sam Darnold. And apparently other people in the organization had been telling Matt Rule that it was not a good idea because Sam Darnold had a lot of turnover tendencies, and there were a lot of flaws on his film from his time with the New York Jets, and yet even still Matt Rule would dismiss them over with this insistence that Sam Darnold was supposed to be the guy, and basically just not even listening to everyone else that wanted to look at someone else other than Sam Darnold. And they even said that represented the high point of Matt Rule's career, because at that point, Sam Darnold went 3-0 to start the season with us last year, and it had kind
and
of
he was
like,
pretty good in his rookie year as a coach, right? His Rule was not after year one.
There was nothing good about him.
As we had moved on, unserendipitously, I guess would be the word, or as close to that as I can pronounce it, from Cam Newton, which made fans perturbed.
Including
we had
myself.
a new coach. We had a new coach who's a college coach that we had a lot of concerns with, and the team looked competitive in year one. It was year two that it looked like I think what I expected year one to look like.
Well, but again, year one,
year two was a mess.
The COVID year. Year one was the COVID year. So it's almost like we had these built-in excuses for
No,
the team,
I don't even
right?
think it was I think that we actually had an advantage in COVID because we had younger coaches who were more fluid with new ways of doing things.
Well, but
and I think that older, think about Pete Carroll trying to get on the Zoom.
Yeah,
that's what I truly think that the COVID year it was an advantage to younger digital minds.
But looking back at that early year in hindsight, it's just like his next 2 years. So, even though we at the time wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt for being a first-year head coach during the COVID year, like, point being, after year one, Tony, you're not saying, this dude has to go right now, unless you were like Greg or G Baby or whatever.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is I thought that we were building the right direction.
But when you look back at it now, it was always the same old thing. It was a college coach that could never truly put in the right position to succeed. And literally, as you go through this entire article, Tony, literally every time a major quarterback decision needs to be made, it was.
What's the most damning part about the article to you? How about this? Tell me the 3 things. If you could tell me 3 things about this article. Okay. 1 is the most important, 1 is the most damning, and the 1 is the most surprising. Ooh, let's do it like that. What's the most important part that we learned about this?
To me, the most important part is that they decided to not bet big on Justin. And you look at what that guy's capable of doing. You might want to be down on him this year because the Chargers are very hurt.
You shouldn't.
But that guy is a franchise quarterback. And by the way, one of the things that I said on this podcast is that Justin Herbert had Luke Kuechly DNA. That's what Dave Gettleman said about Christian McCaffrey when they drafted him. And that would have been the same thing with Justin Herbert, except at the most important position in football. One of the most damning things is they said that this season, it was like right after the Cardinals game, that you could sense there was a visible a tension amongst Panther players, that they were kind of down in the dumps, kind of like upset with themselves. They felt like no one could carry themselves. And yet the coaching staff was quiet. Like there was no trying to rally the troops. Like they didn't even say much to the team that had been continuously losing so much. And I think that was very indicative that these coaches, specifically Matt Rule, he knew that he was the dead man walking. I mean, he absolutely knew that going forward, his ass was on the chopping block. And then it really showed after the 49ers game. And, everybody had already kind of seen the writing on the wall. To me, the most surprising thing, Tony, and I guess it isn't surprising, but just for the sake of the gossip, that multiple different sources told Fowler that after Darnold started underperforming, David Tepper was furious with the fact that they picked up his fifth-year option before he had ever played a snap of NFL football, and that he was apparently persuaded at the time by Matt Rule and I believe Fitterer and other people in the front office in order to kind of go forward with Sam Darnold. They convinced Tepper that they should pick up the fifth-year option, and he was absolutely livid about it. And I just find that to be, the most surprising and yet the most unsurprising thing at the same time. And Tony, I'll give you a bonus one. After Matt Rule was fired, so this is probably the saddest thing to me. And then I'll read this super chat by Michael Davis. The saddest thing, Tony, was guess who was the player to rally the troops and try and get the morale back up after Matt Rule had been fired? Can you guess who it was?
I mean, you want to say Shaq Thompson, but I feel like it's going to be somebody who is kind of on the outs with the...
Boy, I'd say, how about none other than Christian McCaffrey was the one who got up in front of everyone and gave it's like a leader of the locker room and tried to rally the troops and try and get the morale back up. And then, dude, not even a few days later, this man is traded to the San Francisco 49ers.
Do you think, is it strange that Christian McCaffrey wasn't more of a feature in the Carolina Panthers media? Why has he just been absent from everything? Like, I feel like we paid him. They should have been trotting him out after these games to do some press conference. We haven't heard from him at all. So when you say that, like, I almost feel like Christian McCaffrey was either an introvert or is just trying to go bang Olivia. And I do not hear him speaking or talking at all. Man,
I kind of, the plan was from the jump, like a DEFCON 5 or whatever. If this season starts to go downhill, Christian McCaffrey is if he's healthy, of course, Christian McCaffrey is the first person that you're going to be trading off of this football team. So why put him in all of the promos and all of that kind of stuff if you know that there's a very real possibility that you might be trading him away at some point later in the year. I think that definitely plays into the discussion. Hey, real quick, we have to give love to our man Michael Davis.
Patron saint.
This is the $35 love bomb. She says, I'm going bird hunting in Atlanta Sunday. Might even bring some batter and hot oil with me. Who's down?
Ooh,
keep it up, fellas. Get those likes up and crush that algorithm. You heard the man. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell for every single time the C3 Panthers podcast goes live and brings you the Panther information and discussion that you so love.
Fried Falcon on the menu.
Ooh.
Fried Falcon sounds delicious. I will say, all right, so I've looked around a couple of things. I looked at the, let's see what Panthers.com.
This is another sad one that was in the article. At one point in time, Fitterer liked the idea of Trubisky to compete with Darnold for the starting job.
Do you want now? You want to keep that? Man, we should get rid of Fitterer right away then. You know what is the news that is coming out on this story? First, I'm a little... Man, I don't want to say it to the people like, look, we're going to have Joe Person on hopefully in a couple of weeks. I'm already working on getting him scheduled. He can't come next week, but we're going to get Joe Person in the future. Hopefully the following Wednesday for the BeatCheck. I don't want them to hear this. Even our guest tonight and our guest in the past. It's like, why is it now that where you asked this question tonight? You snuck that question in, which is, did we have murmurs of this dysfunction? Were there murmurs of this dysfunction all along? And I would say this is that if this is now they're going to take the Scott Fowler or Jeremy Fowler, like if they're all going to bag on these bitches and dump on them now, why were they not a little bit more on that party when it was happening?
Tony. And you know what the funny thing about it is? That's why whenever you find legitimate information that runs contrary to, what the mainstream, Panther media might be telling you, it's oftentimes that those can be the most correct. Because, for example, if you're a player that has discontent with your coaches, well, you're not going to go and run and tell someone that's going to tell, Joe Person or David Newton or Shannon Quick. You're just not going to do that if you don't want certain information out. Whereas if you say it to someone and then it gets to a verified source, like myself, you can take it or leave it and, say, oh, Cody's just making shit up just to get Twitter clicks or whatever. Whereas there's probably a lot of truth when it is someone that doesn't have an official check mark next to their name. But I agree with you, Tony. It's like everyone has a lot to say about the dissension in the ranks now that Matt Rule is already
where was it then?
But yeah, you're telling me you didn't hear nothing beforehand?
Right. It's like, and for me, it's not even dissension in the ranks. It's like, I can understand like afterwards, like, oh, I didn't like that pick. Oh, I wanted a different decision. For me, the real one is Joe Person is going on the radio, and he's going to be the one of the more conservative reporters on this. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to just come out and lob stuff because he's got to go back in there next week. He's very close to the team. But he's sitting there going, this is that Rule had control of the roster. Rule was like kind of, or at least to me, he's implying that these personnel decisions were very heavily ruled by Matt Rule. And I don't feel like the reporting, maybe they left it open to us. I feel like this is right now, Scott Fitterer seems like a wet noodle to me. And I don't want to believe that. But between this story, the kind of shade that people are throwing afterwards about this, someone described him as a nice guy who could appease Tepper and Rule. And I don't know if that's a great thing.
You know what our general manager needs to be able to do? He needs to be able to tell people no. Including his boss, David Tepper.
Yes.
Look, I'm telling you, that's why I think I'd be a good GM. Even if David hired me, I would have no problem telling that man.
And you're like, what are they going to do? I'm in a wheelchair, bitch. What are you going to like? Are you really going to come at me?
It's like, dude, I have the balls to tell people, hey, look, if you want to do that, it's whatever, but there is no way that I'm signing off on that dumbass decision.
That's why he dies on this hill. Yeah, or he says he don't like that. Cody's always like, I live on this hill.
Because I'm undefeated, man. I've never died. Who's ever killed me, bro?
You cannot keep saying
dude,
that.
I'm
shit.
Literally undefeated, and I've never one time in my life, dude. Check the record. But my point being is that, if David Tepper is going to be this guy that throws his weight around and throws his billions and his power and influence, like, you have to be able to know what you're doing from an organizational standpoint. And I agree with you, Tony. Based on the track record thus far, I don't know that Fitterer is that type of dude that if he genuinely believes something. So, for example, if I'm general manager of the Carolina Panthers, I say to David Tepper and the coach and everyone on that staff, there is no move at all that I endorse higher than going up and securing our franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert. And any other decision contrary
well, he wasn't there then. Wrong. He wasn't there then. He wasn't there then.
I'm saying if I'm the general manager.
So the question would have been last year, or he was the Fields draft. He's the Mac Jones Fields.
Yeah.
Who else?
People are still arguing about that. J.C. Horn or Justin Fields.
Well, I will tell you this, is that I believe more in Justin Fields than I do in Mac Jones. And I did then, and I still do to this day.
Yeah, same.
I just legitimately then, I was all on the Justin Fields train, bro.
Yeah, and by the way, shout out to Michael Johnson. He says, Tepper is pink as hell while reading these articles. And that's another thing. Tony, that's another thing they revealed, that David Tepper, and we saw this in the press conference, after he fired Matt Rule, David Tepper, not only does he check social media, but he listens to what the Panthers media is saying and writing about him. And he's a frequent checker and observer of all
course he is. They all are.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. So, by the way, Tim Estes, I never said Kim couldn't play left tackle. I said for the purpose of our run game, you're putting Kim Aquanu at left guard. And I still don't think it would be a bad idea.
What do you think about?
He's an awesome left tackle.
What do you think about first Sticky Icky put it in the air? Ooh wee.
Shit.
What do you think about this shade that people are throwing on your boy Brady Christensen at guard?
This is literally the first year in his life that he's ever played left guard at an NFL level. And his numbers are high in pass protection. I think run blocking is something that he's going to have to get the hang of over time. But I'm not worried about it, man. And I'm certainly not giving a damn about PFF, man. PFF,
Why? You don't want to start Michael Jordan?
Oh, dude.
You don't want to start Cade Mays or whatever? Like, this dude, I don't even know his name. They're like, oh, if we had Cade Mays, we'd be fucking number one in the league. I was like, whatever. Shut the fuck up. Oh, sorry.
It's embarrassing. If I never heard the name Michael Jordan in relation to a football player again for the rest of my life,
if I never heard the name Michael Jordan, I would never know anything about basketball, bitch.
Yeah, man. It's like, dude, I'm so done with it. This time, and by the way, we rushed for 173 yards.
I know. I know. How bad? How terrible was it?
Liability, man.
I know.
It's dumb, dude.
What I do actually, it's not dumb. It's like a reasonable position to like have questions, concerns, and this and that. But what is dumb is for 85% of your life to say that PFF sucks, and then the one time PFF verifies your position, you're like, oh, look at these grades. Because I'm pretty sure, and you guys, the people that are listening right now, don't really know what the hell we're talking about. I mean, they do. They know who we're talking about, but they don't know.
Inside Panther baseball, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the point is these motherfuckers are always like, oh, don't ever trust PFF. That's why I don't ever give a fuck about PFF. And then when PFF supports them, they're like, oh, well, look at this fucking grade right here. Like,
and don't forget the fact that they know, other NFL offensive linemen, and literally everything that they say is backed up by their former NFL player friends. Like, dude, it's such an easy cop-out to say, my NFL friends say, whatever, man, you need to trust
I don't even care about it. I haven't got to go that far. I just got to go to this far, is that the mugs are like, oh, well, now PFF supports me. That's my whole thing is this. Is you can't shit on something all day long and then, well, you can. And that's what people do.
Oh yeah, Tony, I wanted to ask you this before we jumped out of here. Pat Elflein has to have season-ending surgery.
On what?
Therefore, I'm not I think it was his foot. Panther Pickle's in here. I'm sure he can correct me if I'm wrong. But season-ending surgery, and Bradley Bozeman is going to be the center for for the rest of the year. And I hate it for Pat, man. I know I was never a fan of his per se.
No, but played better at center than at guard.
Yeah, played better than most people expected him to. And
always better at center than he was at guard.
Right. So, I hate it for him for that reason. But at the same time, how could you not feel happy for Bradley Bozeman? And now
I'm actually worried. I'm sad.
Why?
Because first of all, he should have been arguably playing from the beginning. Right?
Oh, for sure.
So we missed 5 games with him starting, technically. You can say 1 was because of injury. But what I'm sad about is I think he's only on a 1-year deal. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
I want to get hype and like this guy a lot. But I almost want them to break. Wouldn't it be better if F-Line could come back and play a little bit and push down and push down Bozeman's monetary value a little bit so we can sign him? I mean, I hate to root against the guy's money, but like this is the thing is like I think through next year.
So then
we have to re-sign. We have to pay. We have to pay Bozeman. Yeah, and we don't have to pay him a ton. But we're gonna have to give him money, and that's the only thing.
He seems to really love the Panther community, and him and his wife are very active amongst the Panther fan base, taking pictures.
They're incredible.
They're awesome.
They're like really like, dude. They lived in an RV for an entire year.
Yeah,
have you heard about this?
They're good people. I remember.
You haven't heard about this, Cody?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I remember something about it.
Like they lived in a literal, which first of all is my dream. My kids hate me for this. Is when the fateful day that probably will sadly occur one day where my wife leaves me. But what I'm saying is this is like, man. No, I mean, not, well, maybe it'll be, but no. What I would just say is this, is that if you can work virtually, if you had a job where you can work virtually and you could get that dope ass 5G hotspot internet, I would just buy a fucking RV and travel.
Have you ever seen those shows that show like?
I would love that shit. I would just
like, you know the dope ass mobile homes, like the $100,000 something mobile homes with all the luxury amenities, like that, dude. That would be fun as hell.
Dude, you just go on the road. I mean, you don't got to go over. Yeah, but like you pull your car behind, you pull a little Prius behind you, and man, you would. There are these old people that live down the street from me. They're older. I don't know them that well. Man, there's like 5 or 6 blocks down the road. But there used to be a trailer home there, and they got it removed, and they put this ballin' ass RV there. They built a little deck. They got a deck. They got a storage shed. They got their Jeeps. They got trucks in the back. The hurricane came a month ago, and these bitches just took their RV and bounced.
Deuces.
I mean, they were just like, we're going to the mountains. Like, I mean, what a
that's baller as hell.
I think if I was a single man right now, and I had a little bit of loot, I think that's what I would do. I would just buy a fucking $120,000 RV
pimping all over the country. Got a new one every night in every city that you go to.
I don't even care. It's not even about a new one. Yeah, but yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, man. But kind of off the topic of Bozeman, but dude, how about this? I'll just say.
But no, he lived in the RV for a whole year. Him and his wife, and they're not. And he's not a small person.
No, he's a big dude. I think Tim Tizzy was in the chat room earlier saying he's like a good old farm boy, just a happy old good old farm boy with farmer strength, throwing barrels of hay into a tractor. Like it gives off that kind of vibe.
That's what you need.
He's a lovable dude, by the way, man. You know, we haven't had like a dude at center that everybody was able to get behind like that since Khalil. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm happy for Bozeman, and I definitely think that next year, especially if our offensive line continues to do well, Bradley Bozeman has to be a priority. Has to.
All right. I think we've covered about most of the topics we can cover tonight. But we will be back Friday night with the Friday free-for-all. And Sunday, we'll have the post-game show. What else should we be thinking about right now, Cody? I don't know. Tell me. Get us out of here. I don't know. Help me out.
A W, man. A W. How about this? Believe in your team, man. Let your heart lead you for once. Let your mind and all the rationale put that bullshit away. We're about to smack the hell out of the Atlanta Dirty Turds. And, dude, we're going to show him or show you something. We're going to show them what time it is in the NFC South, man. The Panthers have what they need to be successful. So, you know what? I'm believing in my team, Tony. I haven't done so in a long time. But, damn it, I'm doing it now, baby.
That's good news, people.
That's good news, people. This is the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Tuesday nights, we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions, 9 p.m. live. We've been doing it for over 10 years now. Wednesday night, we hit you with the BeatCheck. Friday night, we hit you with the Friday free-for-all, where any fan, if you want to be you don't want to just listen, you want to control the conversation, Friday is the show. Look, you can call in on Tuesdays. We want fan interaction. We want to highlight you. But on Friday, you're the host. You're the host on Friday. Right. Well, at least, and Cody always is the producer. On Sunday, we got the post game. Oh, did I skip a day? Oh, I did. Saturday simulations. Bro, the C3, bro, we have been killing it, dude. We've been killing it. Y'all have been great hanging out with us. But look, we need your help. We need y'all's help. I cannot tell you this enough, is that success breeds the desire for more. I want more subscribers. I want more views. Just because I want to grow this family. We're so close. Let's get to 5,000 subscribers. Let's get to 100.
5,000. I know. We asked for your help to help us get to 4,000. And, dude, we're so close to 5, man.
Let's get to 5,300 and give away a Brian Burns jersey. 5,300 subscribers. Let's get there. And we're giving away a Brian Burns jersey. 53, right? That's the number? Am I wrong? Am I right or am I wrong?
That's his number. That
5,300 subscribers. I'm buying this Brian Burns jersey. We're going to keep him here. We're going to keep you here. Cody, as always, it's been wonderful hanging out with you. I will continue to talk football till midnight if you wanted to, but I feel like we should go.
Probably so. Listen, man. Until next time, C3 Panther Nation, you already know what to do. Just keep pounding.